Hi, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday with Keeping It Real with the Sisters of the Light. Ann Kuether, Terri-Ann Russell, and our amazing guest is Dr. Roche. Hello. And if
Hello.
you guys,
Thank you
go
for
ahead.
having me on again. How are you guys doing?
Oh, doing so good. I'm so glad that we are going to do a part two. Like 1 hour with you is not enough. It's just not
Thank you so
enough
much.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I agree. It went so fast last time too. It was like, oh my God. And I thought Ann could see. And so this is why we keep it real, because sometimes behind the scenes, we're over here like, what the hell? And we were talking and it just cut us off.
That's how it goes. I'm still learning technology too.
Yeah. Yeah. But
that's why my brain doesn't work.
I think it went so well because it's so needed. You are so needed. What you are doing is so needed. So I think if it's okay, let's go back kind of a little bit to the beginning.
Sure.
And let's just tell everybody, or if you could tell us exactly what you do, about your book, The Joy Matrix, and then we'll just go from there. But let's just give everybody a refresher.
Awesome. So my name is Dr. Debbie Roche, and I love natural healing and metaphysical healing. And so from a chiropractic, doctor-y kind of side of things, I do chiropractic, acupuncture, and functional medicine. And then and I love brain wellness in the brain. And so then from a metaphysical end of things, I love intuition, intuitive connection, intuitive readings, chakras, the vibrational approach to healing. And so my work really is about personal empowerment. Like how do we design, or how do we create a healing and wellness program that includes the heart, includes the spirit, includes our intuition, includes all of the pieces that are often left out of the healing process. I've walked through so many different severe healing experiences that I understand this realm, not just from book knowledge, and I have many, many degrees in many different categories, but really from the experiential side, which I feel is so invaluable and so needed, because it's such a hard, it can be such a hard and difficult path, or challenging. I should use the word challenging as to not affirm the hard, but and when it comes to the brain, and emotional healing, I think our culture does a terrible job of giving us options and angles and the experience of really understanding our emotional healing path and our brain in that process.
Yeah, because I think we're still in that mind frame where you just pick up the carpet and you brush it all under the carpet, right? And they don't deal with it. It's so much easier just to sweep it under, walk away, and pretend like it never happened, instead of dealing with the situation.
Well, do you remember hearing about that when you're we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or we'll deal with that later. It's always later. We'll deal with that later.
Yeah. I growing up in the abusive household that I did, and there was, I'm a survivor of sexual incest and poverty and a whole bunch of other things, just really hard stuff growing up. And, when you're on a walk of emotional healing from something on that level of violation, I don't want to, in my opinion, it takes a lifetime in some ways to heal certain parts of our soul when it really comes to that walk. And so, having these important conversations, I think, are so essential, and making it okay to talk about stuff, because I just feel that, so many people look at people that have made it to a certain level of success, and they look at them and think, oh, they must not have the problems that I do, or maybe the emotional responses. And I think that's so not true. I think there's so many people out there that they're still walking through their emotional stuff. And I think there's so much power in honoring our emotional selves and feeling it all and making space for it when it comes up.
Yeah.
I always say that.
Go ahead. Go. Sorry.
I always say that, like, it's so important to feel, because we've been such a collective of non-feeling. And then it's scary for sometimes when clients come in and you start talking about, well, we're going to need to, when this comes up, we need to feel it, right? What is it? What is it about that? And because I think if you stay in that space where you're not allowing your vulnerability to come through, like, and it affects all areas of your life, not just your intimate relationships, but the relationships with your children, the relationship with your peers at work. And so it travels through the entire existence of your life. So if you don't look at that, it's like those patterns and those beliefs and those thoughts continually come up for you.
Oh, absolutely. I just feel that, I've been in 12-step recovery for 19 years now. And one of the great value of sitting in those rooms and listening to everybody talk is really recognizing that certainly I'm not alone in anything that I'm thinking and feeling, but that it really is when we are aware of our emotional rhythms, that's where we can really have such great self-power and self-mastery, because the stuff's always going to come up. You know what I mean? Life happens. Like today, I found out that my ex has a new girlfriend, and this is my longest relationship. And I know it's for both of our highest and best good. But wow, all of the emotions that I'm experiencing today, it is it teaches me so much about my heart and how deeply I love. And all of us, I think, people that are in the intuitive metaphysical realm, they've walked through some really tough things, and so stuff around the heart is always going to come up. It really is about learning how to be self-aware, and then to really sit still with the emotion long enough to understand what it's spiritually trying to teach us. There's always some big spiritual lesson.
Oh, it totally is. And out of the last week's recording that we did, there was somebody on there. Hold on, I'm going to read what she wrote. And she was just talking about how she was saying that she was going through her deepest and most darkest times, that for her to heal is when she actually had to heal and go within herself and do that really deep work. And that was really scary for her. And I think that is when you're working with the chakras, right? And getting them in alignment and having them aligned. And sometimes you have to notice where it's kind of off, where the alignment's off.
Oh, yeah.
You got to ask yourself those questions. And then when you get to those questions, sometimes it's hard because we don't want to face what we're really seeing and what really comes up with that. Do you notice that a lot? Do you work a lot with the chakras, with people trying to get them back in alignment?
Absolutely. It depends on what people are coming to me for. And so what I have starting to see is that sometimes the physical modalities that I do will not work unless the metaphysical realm is in balance first. And so when I notice that, that's when I do a lot more work with the chakras, or especially around emotional healing and heart healing. If the heart chakra is off, then the heart chakra connects the above chakras and the below chakras. So if it's off, then the flow of the divine energy through the body can't heal effectively.
Right.
And that's why, and when I muscle test people, it really always is the heart and the solar plexus that is off. And so as I walk through, I really committed this year to my own healing walk. And so myself, I've been doing a lot of heart chakra stuff. And last night, it was such an interesting, I'm like, what is going on with my solar plexus? Like, I didn't understand that, why my solar plexus was doing really funky, pressure and pulling. And then I find out today about my ex is with somebody else. So that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
That was my longest relationship in this lifetime. So I'm sure that the cord is shifting to the person. So, but I thought that was such a fascinating experience, because I was laying there with my cat in bed going, what is going on? Because I never had that level of the sensation. So, but yeah, the chakras, I find that if my body is out of alignment in that way, I'm much more emotional. My body is much more stressed. It can't get into the healing mode. I'm much more able to emotionally trigger, because I have to be really aware of my own past trauma stuff. Right. And so if those areas of my body are not in alignment, then my brain is much more likely to have a stronger response to something than it should. But yeah, totally. Chakras are so invaluable in that process.
I love it you said that. So just clarify for me. So the night before you found out about your ex-girlfriend,
Yeah, no, so it was within 2 days.
so
And
you
I
were feeling it.
the sensation, and I'm like, what? And I even thought that, I said, could that be it? Because I hadn't been on her Facebook for about a week and a half or so, 2 weeks or whatever, and I thought, could that be it? And then I realized, because we were connected on many, many different levels, and she's a beautiful soul, and I bless her walk and all that she's doing. But I have always been so deeply connected to her. So to feel that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
interesting from the etheric kind of realm.
It's that the last week we were talking about the deep loss, the deep grieving that comes when you lose someone that you're so deeply connected with. And then it goes back again, what you were talking about earlier with the chakras, with the energy fields. When we think about relationships, it's not just one chakra, one energy field, it goes out through everything. So when you have those deep, intense relationships and then they end, it's like you've got to work through those levels of that grief.
Yeah.
Right? They shift, they change. After my son passed, and I've done a tremendous amount of healing, and I still have more healing to do. But I always say, like, the stages of grief and the stages of healing are pretty similar. And you go out from one into the other, and they flow back. And sometimes you think, all right, I'm all done, I'm good. And then it comes back up again now for you to
yeah. I always say that healing is never linear. You know what I mean? Like it's always like this, but eventually we get there. And so I know for me, I am so emotionally sensitive that if I'm not actively working on my emotional wellness and my heart chakra, then I can't heal physically, or I'll get sick very fast. And so I have to actively be on that, or else I'm just miserable, because that's how sensitive my auric field is.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I totally can relate to because it's been 6 months since she and I were together. And so I thought, I don't know what I thought, but I'm surprised that it hit me so hard today. And I know, like I said, I love this person very dearly. And I know that, it is in our highest and best, but wow,
Yeah.
my heart take the hit today,
Yeah.
And so
One thing I love about you, and I said it before, and I'm going to say it again, is I love that how you always take action. So when you're talking about the heart being out, and then when you're saying that you work with people and you're doing the muscle testing, do you do the muscle testing on yourself? Like, how do you, like, people watching this, how do they go, okay, well, how do I know what chakra's out? Like, how do you do that?
So I just did a class on this actually yesterday, or on Wednesday. So yesterday at the Metaphysical Society in Sun City. So there's a pendulum way of testing yourself, and you can intuitively connect with that muscle testing method. And so you can use your body as the pendulum. So forward is yes, and no is either no forward or just back. Right. And so I'll go in my mind, is it the 7th chakra, the 6th chakra, the 5th, the 4th, etc. And then you can sway into the answers.
So you've asked yourself that, and then you wait, because I've done that swaying, before. Yeah. And it's weird for me because my yes is back where I think it should be no, and my no is going forward.
Yeah, you can ask which direction, but after a while, I can get the feel.
You just know. So then you just ask yourself, and then you just see which way you go. Oh, okay.
I've never pendulum backwards too, Ann.
Or I can use my elbow, the strength of my elbow, like you're using this muscle as your indicator muscle. And that if it's, and you say out loud, is it my 7th chakra, my 4th, and then whichever weak one, you won't be able to hold it strong. That's another way. Just a little bit advanced, just a little bit advanced. Or you can do this way, which I'm not good at this way, where the circle.
I'm not good at that.
And then, this is yes, and this is no. You can go through it. I was never good at that way, though.
That just doesn't look right. Hello, we're a
family show. Yeah. That's true.
I just feel like you're making this one work. Like I want it to be yes, I want it to be.
Yeah, no. I'm not good because you can I don't know. I always felt I was pushing it through, but the pendulum seemed to work with me, and I do a lot of intuitive stuff with that method. I mean, certainly my messages come many other ways, but yeah, and so yeah, the heart chakra is one of those sacred things. I've started to collect more crystals and vibrational tools for my heart chakra, because it's been so thrown this year with my ex, and then my dad leaving. And I know, and I hear my father he's close to me constantly. So I know he's not gone, but it's still, a transition to walk through the loss of the human part.
Yeah, well, it's tough. And I think, Terri-Ann, you can agree with us too, with your loss. Like, we all go through loss. And I think I don't want to say lucky because you guys is so raw to you guys. But like when my dad died, I just know that I feel like he's with me now more than ever.
Oh, yeah.
We have that stronger connection, but I do miss that tangibleness of him. That's what I miss. I know he's here with me, but it's that tangible of just touching him. That's what I miss more than anything. Yeah.
I think it's so important to honor our emotional hurts without getting stuck in them, because I can get stuck if I wallow too long. But really I just, in my life walk and healing walk myself, really learning to not only honor my emotional hurting but also to honor my vulnerability when I am healing.
Right.
So during this phase, I've taken a lot more time by myself and a lot more, I prioritize protecting my heart better because I am in this healing, evolving place. So, learning that and applying that, because everybody's like, oh, be tough. No, sometimes it's really important to take that healing space.
So that's part of the cocoon phase too, right? When you're healing, you need a lot of downtime, a lot of alone time. I wrote down a question somebody sent to me.
Sure.
Are you writing any other books?
I am writing a book on suicide prevention.
Oh, that is so needed.
So yeah, it's something very near and dear to my heart, and really just like the walking through those dark spaces in your mind and your heart, and really navigating, like what tools can be used, but most importantly, understanding the framework of the mind and the emotional heart, and how do you climb out of that place, and all those different kind of nuancy things that people really don't talk about. And so I really wanted to put it from a very real, raw, and emotional perspective, and a spiritual perspective, like that topic, because I think it's so important.
I agree.
Oh, that's so important right now. And again, going back, you're showing, not only are you just talking about it, but you're showing them and you're giving them ideas of how to take action to do it.
Yeah,
because I do believe, and maybe I'm wrong, you can stop me if I'm wrong, but a broken heart and your mind, if it's been damaged or whatever, I think we can rewire it to get healthy again.
Oh yeah, totally.
Do you believe that? And I think so many people think, oh, don't, it can't be, but I think it's so powerful. I really do believe they can be.
I know for me, because my trauma as a child, I was ripped from my mother many, many times because she would go into a psychiatric facility. Right. And so my trauma really wasn't the bonding aspect. So anything involving sex or intimacy or physical closeness is like it's a ground for emotional triggers for me. So I have to be extra careful with my brain around heartbreak, because in the trauma response, what happens is that an area of the brain called the amygdala becomes overactive and it shuts down the frontal lobe. And so what happens is that your cognitive functioning and executive functioning is diminished. And so then you're like highly primed to emotionally trigger, especially if you've had past trauma in whatever ways. And so what I have found is that there are some brain hacks and wellness hacks that can be used when your brain is in that space, especially if it's in a dark space or a really dark, whether it be blackness or darkness, whatever it might be. I was writing on this today, actually, in the book. And that there are ways to help your neurology manage that experience in a better way. So it gives you a fighting chance. Because some people, like people that have had trauma and abandonment and neglect and a lot of other things in their youth and their developmental areas of their life, their brain is primed to go into an extreme kind of space. And so there are brain hacks from a neurological perspective that can help keep the frontal lobe firing better. And also decreasing inflammation overall in the body can greatly help the brain so it can rewire. So whenever I've been emotionally triggered, the first thing I do is exercise and get back. There are like exercising things that you can help the brain balance on both hemispheres or to activate this frontal area. I do actually an exercise class, a free or by donation class on Tuesday mornings at 7 a.m. on Gulfport Beach. And it's also on the Unity of Gulfport community page. And it's always recorded so that it's always there. But in that class, I do all those motions that help even out the brain. And so that can be a free resource for people that are interested in just optimizing their brain, because it's so interconnected to our emotions.
Right.
And
Mm.
so,
I forgot, so the other day I heard a statistic about what percentage of people have had some sort of physical, sexual, emotional abuse in their, it's staggering.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like, you know, coming from somebody that had been abused throughout her life,
Mhm.
I really felt like I was the only one, like, because those things were never talked about in my day. Nobody addressed what was going on when I was a child.
Yep.
And so it's like, then you come into being an adult, right? And it's still when I was a young adult, we didn't talk about that stuff.
Mhm.
But now it's so much more prevalent that everybody's talking about it. So I think it's so important. Yes, that this book you're writing, I have it. Yeah, I feel good. I think it's so needed.
Thank you. A lot of the tools in the Joy Matrix. So the Joy Matrix is all around healing the brain and emotional healing. So
What you were just talking about.
the tools, yeah, the tools are there in that book, like the foundational tools. But what I wanted to take it to the next level and to really get real and really intimate with the mind and emotions, just around, like, you know, navigating that stuff, because nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about how do you pull out? How do you navigate this when you're feeling so horrible inside, when our society doesn't give you many options besides going to a facility or to taking a bunch of Western medicine synthetics or whatever it might be. Like, how do you navigate this and keep, you know, making sure you're safe, of course, but how do you navigate it from an emotional perspective and understand the nuances of the emotional process?
Yep.
Because that was the one thing I always most wanted to learn. And so I was very lucky to be around some awesome mentors in 12-step recovery. And I've read so much in so many different areas around this, but really to walk through that process and to understand it, I really wanted to leave some type of kind of emotional manual and also just like life manual that when it is bad, what do you do with it? You know,
Yeah.
like not just from a
What are you naming? What are you going to name the book? Because you know what, everything we're talking about is stop being effing perfect. Because when you're trying to be effing perfect, it's not perfect. I think it's that carpet. We're throwing it all underneath the carpet again.
I'm not sure. I had a name and now I don't like the name. My guides were like, nope, that's not the name. I have the image on the front, like in my mind, and I'm like, and a lot of other pieces. And it's funny because the Joy Matrix was very much intuitively guided, the layout of it. Yeah. And they are not, my guides and my angels are not showing me the layout of the book. And it's frustrating me. So it's like, literally, I have to like do it by pieces. And then sometimes they'll give me the information. So it's a different experience of writing and producing it. And I'm a little frustrated with it, but I know I'm also doing a bunch of other things. I have a retreat coming up, an all-day Saturday retreat in Treasure Island. Yeah, I'm excited about it. It's called Infinite You. And so
I love that.
So from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. there's all kinds of different metaphysical classes and metaphysical wellness classes. And then we have some meditations, and then we have some like cool paintings on the beach, like angel paintings and sacred geometry. And then it will end for those of us that want to get in the water with a meditation in the waves. And so
I want to go down there.
Me too. I'm getting on that Florida.
And there are virtual tickets, but yeah, I'm very excited. I just laid it out, and I haven't created a webpage for it yet, but yeah, any of the classes that I'll teach will also be hosted on my Teachable channel.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So yeah, so I'm excited about it.
Even your breathing one that you said that you're going to do like in the morning, right? Is that going to be virtual too?
The 7 a.m. exercise class is virtual, but it's only hosted on the Unity of Gulfport community page.
Okay.
But that is by donation or for free. And so it is, I talked about the brain in the beginning and why I'm doing certain motions, but it really is a full body workout, but incorporated into that workout is brain optimization.
Right.
Even though it looks like working out, it's not. The precise movements are all about helping to signal the brain.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. I'm in love with you.
Oh.
I have another question. Okay. Yes. So somebody also gave this question that now they are from California or Arizona. I think this person was from, and they want to, let's say they loved you. They loved everything about you. And would they do you do virtual, or would they have to fly to you, or
yes,
how
it depends on the exact, of course, the exact modality and stuff. But yes, I can do coaching virtual. So it depends on the exact needs. And so, and there are ways if they need testing or whatever, they can do it on their end. And so, but yes, I do a lot of coaching. And that, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's so great nowadays that we can do, as much as we complain about Zoom, I think it's so friggin' awesome.
It is so
You know
awesome.
what? I was just talking to somebody, matter of fact, today, that I was saying that this whole internet thing is an amazing, because we can reach out to people that are all over. It's like Terri-Ann, you're in Arizona. Dr. Roche, you're in Florida, right?
Yes.
And I'm in Tennessee. So it's an amazing that way. But then also, I believe technology is the reason why so many of us are just lost it, because we can't think for ourselves. We're just like watch, I'm going to set my phone off, or my thing off. Hey, Siri, can't, hey, Google, that we're not using our own brains to figure anything else. We're going right to the technology for that quick answer and that quick fix.
You're right.
So
technology changes the brain in a negative way. It can actually rewire the brain. And I'm very sensitive actually to the radiation of the phone and the router. I didn't realize I started carrying these radiation blockers for my phone. And the reason why is because I got really sick one day. I had just bought one, and I sold it to one of my patients. And my body was craving it on my phone. So I had to wait in bed. I was knocked out for the day. And I was like, I can't wait for it to come, because I could feel the radiation from my phone impacting my everything, especially my brain. So there are ways of blocking that the radiation from your phone, and also the router with certain, I saw a little patch in my practice, but that it really does impact, especially if we're sensitive, the neurological signaling that runs our body.
That's me. Like, I never talk on the phone, like put it up to my ear, because I can like feel it. It's like, even with it here in front of me, I can feel it coming off of it. And then I'm like totally like down for the rest of the day.
And I always wear the yellow blockers, and I always try to have those the radiation blockers, the cichlids I have. But yeah, there is
crystal. Is it the what's the name? It's black. Terri-Ann, what's the name of that crystal? Tourmaline, is it Tourmaline?
Black Tourmaline. I use Ed makes something too. It's Sedona Soul Sisters. It's organite. It's got copper in it, and so that blocks a lot of EMFs too. What do you use, Debbie?
You can muscle test it. I haven't done the research actually on the blockers yet that I use. I muscle test them, and I always like the phone. When it gets here, the neurology will go weak, but then when I use the little blocker on the phone, it goes strong every time. So I just use that as my guide. I haven't really done a lot of research on it because I love it. I kind of fell into having some, and then I loved them. And so I was like, wow, this really is one of those missing pieces. And I use frequency vials sometimes to muscle test, and the radiation one, if somebody tests a weak, and then I put that little blocker near them, then they'll test strong. So somehow it blocks the radiation.
I just downloaded a gentleman. It was about 2 months ago. This gentleman was on somebody else's talk, and it was an EFT vibration, and you're supposed to set it on your phone, and then it will clean your room, your house, or whatever. And at first I'm like, oh, okay. So I did it, and I'm like, okay, let's see if this thing works. It gave me the worst headache ever. Okay. But then I was like, and then it was a very nice gentleman from Canada. He called to do a follow-up to see how I was doing. And I told him it gave me a headache. And he goes, well, sometimes but then it made people have that kind of experience. But then it made me think, okay, what kind of radiation and what else is coming through there if it's giving me such that powerful? So it kind of freaked me out. I understand that they're trying to clear the space, but if you're using the energy from the phone, that I don't know. I didn't care for it. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. I'm so sensitive to so many things like that. So I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It's giving me, we have 10 more minutes.
Okay, we have 10 more minutes. Okay, I have to
ask those questions quick.
Yes. Okay, so I hope I'm saying this right. This was another thing. Have you ever heard of psychoneuroplasticity testing?
Well, I mean, it depends on what they're referring to, the testing. So there's,
It's for,
Mhm.
remember last time we were on, it was for that little that boy that was going through, they were trying to give him all the medications and the medications are just not working. He's just like this. 1 minute he's high, next minute is low. So now they want to do that kind of test. And that was her question. Have you ever heard of that before?
it depends on what the machine is measuring. If
Oh,
it's brain signaling, then yes, absolutely. Or is it, because usually you hear that term psychoneuroimmunology. So that is the connection between our mind, our immune system, and so psychoneuro, so the psych part, the mind part, the brain part, and then immunology. But if they're saying psychoneuro, so that would be mind, brain, and the neuroplasticity, then there's somehow, I predict, measuring the brain signaling. I have not encountered it yet. It would be interesting to see how they're measuring it. But there are several like neurological functional neurology tests that you can do to figure stuff out without the advanced testing. And so it just depends on, is it with an MD, a DC? If that's going to matter about the approach to this.
right.
A regular neurologist is going to approach it much differently than a chiropractic neurologist.
Okay.
So,
So is this part of that genetic testing you were talking about last week?
it's a little bit different. So there's a lot of different
Okay.
types of functional medicine testing, and genetic testing is going to be one of the things that show us where our genetic weaknesses are. So let's say it shows that your phase 2 detox pathway in your liver is terrible and you have no function, barely any function, then you know that you need to support your liver in whatever wellness protocol that you're doing, so that it has a fighting chance to help decrease the inflammation in your body or to clear out toxins or whatever it is. So
That is interesting though. And that is amazing that we can do that. I mean, that is,
absolutely, yeah.
yeah. I'd be afraid to do that because they would say enough carbs, stay away from the carbs.
I know I've given up carbs.
But you already know.
In the last 100 days, I'm off sugar and gluten. I'm very proud of myself.
Oh,
Yes,
that's
it's
wonderful.
quite the journey, and I don't really miss it. I've been craving chocolate a little bit, but I know that's probably magnesium or
Mhm.
something else. But yeah, it hasn't been as hard as I would think. So I never would have thought I'd be able to do it, but I did.
Good for you. Well, I'm so
Congratulations.
glad that you came on again, and I absolutely love what you do. I can't wait for this next book. When are you hoping to have this next
Oh,
book out?
that is the magic. That's the magic question. I was going to try to do it by the end of the month, but that's not happening because I have my supplement line. I'm launching my supplement line, and then the retreats.
Look at you.
I know it's a very creative year. So, and then I'm grieving, lots of grieving. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping within 3 to 4 months. That's the goal.
Okay.
I'm gonna just kind of like go with the flow of it rather than like push it out, or
Okay.
push. And so I'm just gonna let the universe kind of guide me
I love
and
that.
strengthen everything and create kind of the vision I'm seeing and then see what happens. But yeah, this will be my
Oh.
art.
Well, we will definitely have you back then when that next book comes out.
Whatever. She's gonna be so high up. She's gonna go. But keeping it real. Who are
No,
you?
of course, no way.
Who are
Of
you?
course.
Those two quirky girls. Who are they?
They're so, yeah, you guys are great.
No, you are great. And I am so
Oh,
excited. And you reached so many people last week that, yeah, you're just amazing.
thank
So
you.
it's awesome. So thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Yes, thank you for joining us. And if you like our show, like, subscribe, share it.
Yeah,
It
very good.
really
Are you on
helps us
Facebook?
out there.
Are
We
you
are. We have a group on Facebook too.
Yeah,
We
please
mainly
invite me.
use that to put the videos in.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to be a part of the group. Yeah. And it's
Okay, great. I'll
connect with
send you
you.
an invite.
Wonderful. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye,
you.
guys. Thank you.
Bye.